Hello, I'm Dylan.
I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where every podcast is the last podcast, because this week we watched Last Christmas.
Written by Steven Moffat.
Directed by Paul Wilmhurst.
And aired on December 25th, 2014. I wish this was the last Christmas special.
Why? The best ones are coming up after this one. This is by far the weakest of all of them. I'll agree with you that much.
Yeah, this is a very weak episode.
No.
Weaker than anything in Series 8.
Yeah,
This is
I'd
worse,
probably agree with that.
Worse than even the Caretaker.
I didn't even think Caretaker was that bad. I mean, I would say that this is the weakest, of the Capaldi era. I wouldn't go much further than that.
Yeah, I definitely would say that of the 12th Doctor episodes I've watched so far, this is the worst one, definitely.
I still don't think I thought it was as bad as you,
disliked
though.
This episode. This is probably one of my least favorite Doctor Who episodes of all time. I might put this in my bottom 5.
It's not even approaching my bottom, 50.
You think there are 50 stories worse than this that we've watched?
Probably. But don't ask me to name them all now, because I probably can't even remember the names of 50 stories at this moment. You gotta separate your feelings for Christmas from the feelings for Last Christmas.
Oh, I am.
Are you, though?
Yeah. Because there's much more
I don't want to
wrong.
hear any more comments on that really, really badly implemented Christmas song in this episode.
Which one was that?
Where Shona's dancing her way across.
Right. Yeah. Yet another scene we haven't discussed any other scenes, so just a scene in this episode that contributes to its mediocrity. I texted you while watching this. By saying
it's mediocre, you're basically excluding it from the bottom 5 episodes of your list.
No, I'm not. I'm not being very careful with my words, so there you go. I mean, I texted you while watching this saying that it was one of the most embarrassingly bad Doctor Who episodes that I've seen in a while. And yeah, that's totally how I would still describe it. Just embarrassingly bad.
Well, I just think it's lazy, if I'm being honest. I just think Moffat and basically everyone involved got really lazy.
I think so too, especially on the actors' parts.
Well, the only actor I had a problem with was Nick Frost. But before we go too deep, we should talk about how Clara was going to be written out in the story.
Really? You're going to preempt everything with that? Sure.
Yes, because Shona was originally planned to be her replacement.
Jesus.
So I feel like that's something we should bring up at the beginning so we can talk about it throughout the episode.
Well, we didn't really criticize Clara's, sort of extension last week. We did sort of bring it up as all right, it's kind of a weird thing to do. But now that I know that, now that I know that Shona was going to be a companion, I'm actually really glad that Clara stayed on. Or that Jenna Coleman stayed on, I guess.
I don't know. It probably would have been a Donna situation where she comes back next week for us and it's just completely different.
Well, hopefully, in this alternate universe where this happened, hopefully. Because Shona, I think, was the worst character in this, acting-wise and dialogue-wise. I'll just say right now, if it's not obvious, my 2 biggest problems with this episode were the acting and the dialogue. I just think they were... And I wish I took notes down for all the lines that I thought kind of just sucked, because there were many.
All right.
Which, if you don't have any more production stuff, we can just jump right in, because the weak dialogue, I think, starts right in the very first scene.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else production-wise.
There hasn't really, we've touched on this pretty much every week for the past season, is that there hasn't been really much production stuff, which is why we're thinking of changing the format of Trust Your Doctor a little bit.
Well, really the biggest thing was Clara, or Jenna Coleman, I guess, wanting to leave. Apparently, Capaldi and Moffat both lobbied for her to stay. And,
lobbied? They lobbied the government?
That's the word they used. And Jenna Coleman only decided during the read-through of the episode that she wanted to stay, which is wow, thanks, Jenna, leaving it to the last minute there. And Yeah, I mean, that was like basically all of the production information. This episode is pretty much Steven Moffat does Inception. Pretty sure Steven Moffat like watched Inception and then was like, hey, I can make that a Doctor Who episode and I can do it better. Quote unquote better. Not actually better. Haven't actually seen Inception though. So.
Yeah, neither have I.
I don't know if I can actually make that statement, but I can be pretty sure. But yeah, that's all I got for you this week. So anyway, like Keon said, starts off with Santa on the roof.
And it's two elves. The elves were fine. Their dialogue was all right.
Yeah.
They were kind of funny, actually. And
I think the elves are made better by the fact that, like, Santa's just so...
No, well, again, I wish I took some lines down, because I do think there were some, actually, chuckle-worthy moments from the elves. But Clara comes out onto the roof, and I mean, just right off the bat, I know I'm like harping on the dialogue a lot, but she's just like, so this is a thing? What is this thing?
I don't really think it was any noticeably different from the rest of the season.
I do. I don't think that any other Steven Moffat written episode has felt this awkward and weird and just like, I don't know.
Well, while watching this, I did think that Clara was like kind of out of character, just like I don't know how to describe it. Actually,
they all were. I mean,
no, I don't think the Doctor was out of character.
The Doctor was like the best in this episode.
Can you really say that like story-specific characters were quote out of character unquote? Like maybe that's just the character.
Well, I meant the Doctor and Clara and Danny Pink. Yes, even Danny.
Oh well, Danny wasn't real, so. I mean, Danny wasn't even actually Danny. It was just like Clara's interpretation of Danny. So now we know how Clara thinks about Danny.
Maybe this Danny is like a lot better because of that.
This whole first scene is like just really clunky because Clara's like, hey, you're Santa. And he's like, no, I'm not Santa. I'm roof people. We're roof people.
Yeah, see, just even that type of thing. I don't even have the words to describe.
Well, you gotta find them. Dig deep. Dig deep. I mean, again, I only really had a problem with Santa and Clara to an extent.
Really? You didn't have a problem with Shona?
Nope.
Her deadpan delivery of everything.
It wasn't really deadpan to me.
It was honestly really bad.
No. I mean, I just disagree.
I think it was Shona. I don't even know who it was, but I took this down as a note. Someone says yippee-yi-yay, and like a total deadpan, like just exactly how I just said it. Just yippee-yi-yay. When they should be real excited. Should be real excited.
Or maybe it's a sarcastic delivery, like, oh great, here we go again.
You can't say yippee-yi-yay in that way, man.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
Yippee-yi-yay.
No. Yeah, and there's just something so wrong about that.
Yeah, but you can still do it. Every
time I say yippee-yi-yay, it's just an enthusiastic, and this is a common occurrence, right? I'm throwing this out there left and right, and it's always so enthusiastic, and I think I'm really doing it justice. I'm doing it right.
Yeah, well, I mean, to quote that new version of Old Town Road with the yodeling kid, if you don't have any giddy-yee, then giddy up out of my way.
Should I listen to that? Because I remember you told me to listen to the original song or whatever, and I was like, yeah, whatever, sure, I'll listen to it, and it was stuck in my head for like 3 weeks. I think I've finally forgotten it.
Well, he released another remix with the Walmart yodeling kid. Like I said, he goes, if you don't have any giddy-yee, then giddy up out of my way. Except like really badly. I think he actually makes the song worse in my opinion. But anyway, continuing on with Santa Claus.
Continuing on with Old Town Road. Like this was a bad like couple of weeks where it was stuck in my head. I mean, I'd just be like, driving in my car or whatever, just completely silent, just thinking about life, and then all of a sudden, gonna take or whatever the stupid lyrics are, to the Old Town Road. I'm just like, stop! Get out of my head!
You're supposed to listen to the song in its entirety again when it's stuck in your head. Allegedly, that gets it out of your head. I've never tested the theory personally.
Sounds like someone randomly just wrote on the internet and is totally wrong.
Well, anyway.
Yeah, anyway. Santa tries to play it off real cool, but it's
Fails.
not working.
And Clara's like, "You're Santa, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Santa." And he's like, "How'd you think those presents got under your tree?" And the elves are like, "It was your parents." Yeah, right.
I think they say, like, you thought your parents loved you enough to give you presents or something like that. Meanwhile, some of the reindeer are like, I don't know, crashed or just stuck in
Well,
the
the
tree.
whole sled crashed, so
Right.
the reindeer, like...
More clunky dialogue where they're like, ooh, Donner, Blitzen, just, oh, that's, get out of that tree, man. Rudolph, what are you doing?
It was absolutely nothing like that, but anyway.
It's a lot like that.
Not
Let's
really.
be real for a minute.
I am being real. Santa says this one line that I thought was kind of cool, where Clara's like, "I stopped believing in fairy tales a long time ago," and Santa's like, "Did you, Clara? Did you really?" And then we hear the TARDIS materialize.
I'm just going to mention this now, and hopefully I won't harp on it again, but like that response of like, did you, or like, really, or is it, is throughout this episode.
Yeah, but I think it works here.
No,
this
I
is the
don't
one
think
time
it works. It's such a dumb, like, next thing to have the characters say. It's like, really, that's the next best line you could think of like, I had a sandwich for lunch today. Did you?
But I mean, it's supposed to be like building the mystery here at the beginning, right?
Oh my
Plus, it's
God.
supposed to be like, yeah, Clara never stopped believing in fairy tales because the bloody doctor's a bloody freaking magician in a box.
And, in the forest of the night, all those fairy tales came alive. And poems came alive.
Did they, though?
Yeah.
Kind of just that one poem by, what was his name? The episode was named after?
I don't know who the poem's by. I forget.
I keep wanting to say William Blake.
Yeah,
but
I think it was William Blake. But then there was the Gingerbread House and a couple other ones that I think I'm forgetting. The Gingerbread House isn't from
Red Riding Hood, too.
Yeah, the Gingerbread House is not from the tiger. Just in case anyone was thinking it was.
And then we get the title sequence.
Tiger fan fiction with the Gingerbread House in it. Wonder if there's any like the Tiger fanfics.
Don't let your dreams be dreams. Seize the moment. Seize the day. Anyway.
Yeah, so the Doctor sort of is there. The TARDIS materializes. And, this was actually good. The Doctor comes out, and, only the 12th Doctor could, like,
Pull this off.
accost Santa Claus and, like, just have a frown on his face the entire time and be like, I'm on to you, Santa. I know what your deal is.
Well, the Doctor comes out and he's like, "Clara, get in the TARDIS. Don't say anything. Don't ask any questions. Just get in the TARDIS." Good. And he's like, "Santa, I know what this is."
Don't try and pull wool over my eyes, Santa.
And Santa says something about the tangerines, and the Doctor's like, "Nobody likes the tangerines." And the elves are
Just
like, "Ooh."
Another just, I think, stupid thing from the episode of the tangerines. Offering people tangerines.
But it's like Christmas tradition over there across the pond.
Oh, really?
The tangerines, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I was thinking. I thought Santa was going to be like the celestial toy maker because tangerines are related to mandarins.
Wow. That's...
I mean, I'm joking about it now, but I seriously thought this while I was watching it. And my expectations for Series 8 and this episode combined were, looking back, just off the charts with like what I thought they were going to do with Danny and him being an alien and all this other stuff.
Yeah, man, you were like way off the wall. Although I don't blame you because Moffat kind of set you up for that with like killing the Doctor and bringing him back and rebooting the universe nonsense. So,
or it could just be like one of those things that we always did like back in like season 6 and season 7 where it's like, yeah, they're probably going this direction with this overarching plot and all this is going to happen and then nothing happened.
Just like it always does. Yeah, tangerines is like a tradition over there. I don't know the exact specifics of it, but
really,
like it involves
weird
traditions tangerines on Christmas. And
interesting, yeah.
giving people tangerines.
Yeah.
So that's
Kind
why I
of,
just wasn't even bothered, phased by it.
Kind of like my tradition of rewatching the Star Wars Holiday Special every Thanksgiving.
Do you actually do
Yeah,
that?
yep.
Wow.
Done it for like the last 3 years.
Can't believe you would torture yourself like that. Pretty sure that's like outlawed by the Geneva Convention.
It's pretty enjoyable. You know, the first couple times were not, but this last round was like, I was excited to watch it. And now that I've watched Troll 2, it's not that bad anymore.
Really? So you watched Neverending Story 3 and you were like, wow, Holiday Special's worse than this.
Yep.
And then you watched Troll 2 and it's like, but it's not worse than this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are the 3 movies that I consider the worst movies of all time.
Yeah, I mean, me too. But not in that order. Because I at least had fun with the Holiday Special, which places it above the other 2.
All right. Anyway, we cut to an Arctic-like survey base.
Yeah. It's not really specified why it's here or what they're doing, but then in the end it's revealed that they don't really need to because it doesn't really exist.
So we get some sort of ominous, setup of this woman, this is Shona, having to walk into a room, and we get the idea that there are things in the room that they don't want awoken. And apparently, we get all this through dialogue. It's kind of clunky again here that, if you think about these things or look at them, or I guess it's just think about them, because if you look at them, then causes you to think about them. But if you think about these things, they sort of wake up and they come and get you. And again, this is another like one of these Steven Moffat villains with a very cool concept that doesn't like go anywhere or have anything really to it.
Yeah, I wrote it down in the third part of his Don't Do Things series. We got Blink at the Don't Look and Don't Blink category. We got Listen in the Don't Speak category. And we've got this one in the Don't Think category. So,
yeah, and Steven Moffat also created the silence, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
I don't know how to fit that into his theory yet, though.
Well, it's not a don't thing, but they're kind of similar to these creatures. And again, like these are some
don't
of the
remember category.
Yeah. Or like can't or don't not look, I guess.
Do look.
Yeah.
Like the opposite of the angels. Whoa! I just realized that.
We cracked the code.
Whoa!
The Moffat code.
I mean, that might actually be the thing. Anyway, sorry, continue.
No, I think these villains that Steven Moffat tends to create are some of the best and most memorable villains of the new Doctor Who show. But they just aren't used. They don't go anywhere.
It's because Moffat creates them and then just doesn't know what to do with them.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I feel like the creation of them, it's such a cool concept, but it's nothing beyond the concept.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it. It's just nothing beyond the concept. It's just kind of a nebulous idea that's there.
Yeah, maybe Steven Moffat really needs all right, put this into practice, guy.
Or girl.
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about this recently, that guy, people argue over whether guy is a gender neutral term or not. And I looked into the etymology of it, and it's actually from Guy Fawkes. The word guy used to refer to just a person isn't before that.
Huh.
So it's from someone's name. It's from a male name. So I think that adds a little to the equation there.
On what side?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know either. Yeah, I'm trying to think of famous singers, when you call their fan base by the singer's name, you typically consider that to be gender neutral. So
Wait, what? What?
I'm trying to think of an example now. It'll come to me later.
I don't even know that people did that.
Yeah. Some people do that.
It's like with David Bowie or something. You're the Bowies. That's the
yeah,
God.
Something like that. They didn't do it with David Bowie though. Anyway, I'll think of an example. It'll come to me later.
All right. Anyway, Shona is so awkward. So she's listening to music to sort of distract her from the creatures in the room, and she's got her eyes closed, and she starts dancing to I forget what the song is called.
It's called "This Is Christmas," I think. 'Cause here it is, this is Christmas.
Yeah, that one. By
I Hang on. I have it
I knew this because this popped up when I was like when I paused the episode
in
on
the Amazon little
Yeah.
notes. Sherbet, why can't I find it? I know I had it yesterday. I like specifically kept it open on what it was because I knew we were going to mention it in this episode, and now I can't bloody find it.
It was like Slade or something. I don't know.
Merry Xmas Everybody by Slade, you're right.
Yeah, the DC villain, Slade.
Yeah, Slade Wilson. Definitely not
Turns
a
out
ripoff of Wade Wilson.
Turns out he has a huge Christmas hit under his belt. So she starts dancing awkwardly, and the people in the control center or whatever are like, oh God, she really, she is.
And they're like, well, if it gets her across the room, then I guess whatever works.
Yeah, we should mention who the other people are. So we have the sort of leader woman. I forgot her name.
The doctor calls her the sexy one.
No. That's the other lady.
No,
she's not the one in charge. No. So there's Shona, but then there's also the one because the doctor names them later, and there's like the one in charge and the sexy one, and then
you're right.
Yeah,
the sexy one's the older one, the older lady.
Yeah, and there's Michael Troughton.
Michael Troughton plays Albert. Actually, that was the one production thing I was trying to think of earlier that I couldn't come up with. That Patrick Troughton's son is in this episode. Also, Dan Starkey, who plays the Sontarans, is one of the elves. Anyway, continue.
Oh, yeah. As he was in the Peladon stories.
Right.
So, you can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave.
There's Ashley and Bellows, but I don't remember which is which. Bellows is the older one.
Yeah.
The one that the doctor calls the sexy one.
Yeah.
And then Ashley is the one in charge.
Right.
Who the doctor calls the one in charge.
So Shona starts messing up. She starts thinking of the creatures, but...
Yeah, because the doctor and Clara break down the door and break her concentration. But the doctor and Clara bust in, and Shona's like, oh no, you're making me think of them. I can't think of them. And the doctor's like, what?
Yeah, we get really no sort of explanation or story behind why the doctor and Clara just kind of barge in here.
It's a long story.
But that's, it's a long story. And it's one that's sort of touched on later.
Kind of what they did in
Loving Monsters?
Story. Oh.
Where they just kind of barge in.
Let's say Neverending Story, where they just always go, yeah, but that's a story for another time. It's like this whole episode. Yeah, but that's a long story.
Yeah. Well, in that book, that line is doing things that are much more enjoyable and interesting than anything in this story is.
Right.
Right.
Disagree.
It's your prerogative, but
yeah, it is my prerogative.
Really, you think this story? Let's just touch on this for a second. You think this story is more enjoyable than the Neverending Story book?
No, I didn't say that. I just disagree that the lines were being used in that different of a way between the two stories.
Oh, well, then you would have to. I would have to disagree with that. But anyway, let's just move on.
I definitely reread the Neverending Story over watching this again. So. Anyway, yeah, the Doctor and Clara, there's an attempted rescue by Ashley and Bellows and Albert. But they all get attacked by dream crabs.
Right, which are the things on the people's faces. So it turns out that the people lying in the beds actually aren't monsters or whatever. They're humans, but they just have dream crabs attached to their faces. And Albert actually mentions this a little later on, is that they're kind of like face huggers.
And the doctor's like, what? And he's like, in the movie Alien. And the doctor's like, you have a movie called Alien that's a horror movie? No wonder you keep getting invaded.
I actually liked that.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was a little funny little quip. It also seems to like obliquely imply that John Hurt is a character in the Doctor Who universe. Yeah. Kind of like how that picture of Robin Hood being played by Patrick Troughton in Robot of Sherwood implies that Patrick Troughton also exists in the Doctor Who universe.
Yeah. Well, there are people who look very similar to each other. There's only a certain amount of like faces. Once you see like enough faces, they start to just like look almost exactly the same. So,
I guess. Also, in your dreams, you can only ever dream a face that you've seen before. You don't ever dream up a face that is entirely new. As a fun fact for you. I don't know how they
Well,
verified that.
supposedly, but
Yeah, supposedly. I was going to say, I don't know how they verified that, but I buy
Well,
it.
I mean, also faces and dreams aren't like static or even like memorable, right? You wake up and you're like, you know that there was someone in the dream, but you don't know exactly what they looked like or something
Unless
like
it was someone that you, like, know personally.
Yeah,
In which
well-
case, even still, it's, like, questionable whether you actually saw their face in the dream or not, or it's just like you knew it was this person.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So-
Like, I'll talk about my own personal experience first, and then I'll touch on Freud. Is like when I dream something, I don't necessarily like remember the imagery of the dream. I just like know, like in the back of my mind, kind of what happened in the dream, if that makes sense. And Freud kind of touches on this as well, but he also touches on like specific imagery in dreams.
Yeah.
That's actually one thing. I'll just mention this now because I have nothing else to say about it, and we're kind of on the topic. The one thing this episode kind of did, which was cool, was like this relationship between like dreams and time travel and writing, which like this entire trend in like critical theory and literature starts with Freud pretty much. Which surprisingly enough, that is like a thing that people, kind of touch on. It's mostly this French, group of philosophers or whatever, of like this relationship between writing and time travel and also dreams, which this episode does like in a weird way.
Well, time moves differently in dreams.
Yeah, dreams let you time travel too, according to the doctor.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
Mostly only in the forward direction, but...
So they go back to their sort of command room or whatever.
I just realized that Moffat, like, is basically just redoing Amy's Choice here, but worse.
Wait, what?
Amy's Choice was, like, entirely just a dream within a dream kind of thing. So it was two dreams, and you didn't know which one was real. You kept waking up.
Oh, yeah. All right.
This is the one with the Dream Lord?
Yeah,
Yeah. Pretty sure Steven Moffat wrote that one as well.
I think so, yeah. I mean...
Might have been a
it's-
Toby
it's
Whithouse
like-
creation, but I don't think so, because he did The God Complex, which was the same season.
It's, I mean, there are definitely similarities there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just Moffat doing his Moffat thing.
Yeah. I mean, all writers have this of like, here's the 10 things that I'm like really interested in. And I guess dreams is one of those 10 for Moffat.
But then Clara, the doctor sends Clara off to get something from somewhere.
This part of the episode is kind of just a blur to me.
Well, Santa busts in and he's like, ho, 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 it's me, Santa.
Oh,
and they're like,
mother-effers.
I don't believe you're Santa. And he's like, I see you're a scientist now. Ashley. I'm trying to remember if it was Ashley or Bellows. He's like, I gave you that microscope for your 7th birthday. Good thing I gave you a real one and not a toy one like your parents wanted. And Shona's like, how are we supposed to
Whoa.
believe you're Santa?
Santa's gone rogue.
Santa's like, I got 3 words for you, Shona. My Little Pony. And she's like, oh, God.
All right, so the one thing that I actually did really think was funny or something, a good line or a good little quip from Santa was that apparently Santa grew the beard out to as a disguise.
Yeah, he's like, how do you all recognize me? That elves are like, the beard you grew, for disguise. Yeah, everybody caught
on
on.
to that like 100 years ago.
Santa's like, damn it. Although Santa later on, when he's calling his subordinate, he's like, our mugshot is on literally every Christmas card in the world, so don't get caught.
That's a lie. It's lying through your teeth there. Santa's not on every Christmas card.
Okay. He's on like a vast majority, like an overwhelming majority.
So
But yeah,
they
Clara goes to get
devise
something.
this plan. Yeah, and Clara gets stunned. In another moment of like really weird, there's like this horror scene where the dream crab like attaches itself to Clara's face, and even this, like, I feel her fear was so like
Palpable.
non-fear like. No, the opposite of that. It was like thin and watery.
What's the opposite of palpable?
Thin and watery.
Surely there's like a single word that encapsulates the antonym for palpable.
Sure, but I mean,
Gonna
I
look
don't
it
know
up
it.
in the
The Oxford English
The
Dictionary.
Webster's English Dictionary.
Hell no.
That's the dictionary I looked the definition for caretaker up in, by the way, that I
Yeah,
specifically mentioned I wasn't going to mention in the description of that episode.
It's a pretty good dictionary, yeah. It's my rankings for dictionaries are like Urban Dictionaries #1, then the Oxford English Dictionary, and Merriam-Webster, like, yeah, sure.
What about dictionary.com?
Yeah. Thesaurus.com is actually where it's at.
Doesn't dictionary.com just draw from other dictionaries?
No idea, but yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
So the doctor realizes that they're all thinking about the dream crab. So the one in the room where Clara's going probably woke up. He's like, oh no, Clara! And he runs in and Clara's got a dream crab on her face. And he's like, oh no, Clara's freaking dream crabbed.
So they spend a while trying to figure out how to get the crab off of her. But meanwhile, Clara is in her own dream world with Danny Pink, where it's also Christmas.
Yeah. Well, she sees this chalkboard, and on the chalkboard it says, you are dreaming, you're dying, wake up, Clara, and she just kind of ignores it.
Yeah, so looks like Doctor Who is still getting, that Apple money because all the I's on the chalkboard are lowercase, whereas every other letter is uppercase.
I didn't even notice. Maybe that's just the way the 12th Doctor writes.
Yeah, still getting those Apple kickbacks.
Is there even a concept of upper and lowercase in the dream world?
Does Gallifreyan have uppercase and lowercase?
We don't know.
Isn't there actual Gallifreyan alphabet breakdown things online or whatever?
Yeah, but those are all pretty much fan-made.
Oh, damn it. So Clara's having a nice day with Danny Pink, and Danny seems a lot I don't know, just
mellow.
More mellow and
nicer.
nicer. Someone you wouldn't actually maybe mind hanging around with.
Yeah, he's pretty chill.
This is a dream, Danny.
That's what I'm saying. It's Clara's dream conception of Danny.
God, and that's so weird that the show is aware of this in a really weird way of yeah, we know Danny was kind of an asshat, but Clara didn't think so.
Maybe it's supposed to be a commentary on how love blinds you to
exactly.
the truth.
Love is more powerful than all, right? Clara wasn't
not an emotion; it's a promise.
Except not in a good way.
Not in this case, in a good way.
So the Doctor's trying to break into Clara's dreams, but she just kind of ignores him for a while. Until he literally busts in the door using the power of dream crabs.
And Danny's like, "Oh, hey, Doc." Doctor's like, "Hi, Danny." Well, we forgot to mention this earlier scene where the Doctor's trying to distract Clara, and he mentions how Danny is probably off flirting with some woman, and Clara slaps him. He's like, don't you ever say that about Danny again.
This was outside of the dream. Outside of this dream.
Yeah, it's outside of this dream. Clara's like, don't ever say that about Danny. He's like, look, I just needed to distract you. And she's like, Danny's dead. And he's like, oh, what? I thought you said he was alive. She's like, no, I lied so you go to Gallifrey. And the Doctor's like, oh, well, I didn't find Gallifrey. I lied so you'd stay with Danny.
Yeah, this really rubs me the wrong way after last episode. I said my piece about how much I liked their sort of mutual lying last episode, and then this just comes and hits you like a truck.
I guess my problem with it is that that's where the scene just ends. The Doctor's like, I lied about finding Gallifrey so you'd stay with Danny, and then they don't it doesn't feel like they resolved this.
Yeah, because it was just a dream, right? So maybe it was all just a part of the dream. It wasn't real. No,
maybe, but they don't resolve this tension that's hanging in the air now, where they both realize they were both lying. They don't do anything about it.
Yeah, like I mentioned last week, I think this mutual lying thing is related to the trauma, thing that's going on in Series 8, and this kind of just breaks that all.
I don't know. I don't think it does. I mean, specifically with Clara, because she's in this dream, and the Doctor's like, look, you got to wake up. And Clara's like, I don't want to wake up. I want to stay here with Danny, because I don't want to live without Danny, basically.
I guess, yeah, if you think of trauma as all right, the unintentional, reliving of memories, or the uncontrollable reliving of memories, yeah, you can see this sort of image of, the dream crab on Clara, and she doesn't want to wake up as, trauma type things. She's not controlling all of this. It wasn't her who went into this dream world of her own, will or whatever.
She doesn't control it consciously, but the Doctor says the dream crab's drawing images from her subconscious to generate the dream.
But again, in that configuration, trauma would be a really weirdly desirable thing. But I mean, I haven't thought any of this through. It's just kind of off the top of my head. So.
You're too busy hating.
Yeah.
And the Doctor Well, the way he eventually gets her to wake up is that Dream Danny's like, look, I'm a dream. I'm not even real. So you gotta wake up, Clara.
Yeah, Dream Danny is way cooler than real Danny. Maybe they can like travel with Dream Danny, you know. The TARDIS can go into dreams.
I don't think so.
I think it can.
I don't think it can.
I don't know why, but I think it can. There has to be one like instance of it going into dreams. And since we know that Doctor Who canon is
vast and immeasurably huge.
Yes, but also consistent across all stories.
I was gonna say the exact opposite. I was gonna say it like consistently conflicts with itself.
No, I'm just kidding, obviously.
Series 12 is allegedly going to have a story with the Cyberman and Mary Shelley, which sounds a lot like that Big Finish audio with Cyberman and Mary Shelley.
Yeah, that's like a weird like trend, not just in Doctor Who, but like in literature in general, is like Mary Shelley has become her own literary character.
It's very metafictional.
Yeah, it is. Frankenstein is as well, actually. There's entire
so does that make Mary Shelley writing Frankenstein metafictional?
Like maybe it's like a meta meme type thing, or like a simulacra.
I hate it. It's like the dream within a dream within a dream in this episode. Within a dream, the Doctor and Clara are 4 dream layers deep here.
What if it was all just a dream? I was going to mention this last week and I didn't, but this is going to seem totally random. But thinking back to Ian and Barbara, you just you see how suckish Clara and Danny are at teaching when you think back to Ian and Barbara. Not that we ever saw them in the classroom.
No, but we saw them teach to the audience.
Yes. Coal Hill has really fallen from its glory days of the 60s.
We actually did see them in the classroom in An Unearthly Child. We actually do see them in the
classroom. They were like wrapping up their classes or whatever.
No. We see them in the classroom because they're talking about how weird Susan is.
Yeah, they weren't teaching. They were just there in the classrooms.
No, they were teaching because they have those flashback moments where they're talking to each other and they're talking about the weird things Susan did in their class.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were still way better than Clara and Danny. So, Clara and the Doctor wake up from Dream Layer 1 and they're on the base and the Doctor is like, Santa's not real. So this is probably also a dream, guys.
They're like, no, it couldn't be. I know I'm awake. And the way they test this is they get 4, users' manuals or whatever.
For this base.
Yeah. And the Doctor tells them to turn to a certain page and read the first word.
Well, Clara picks a random number.
Yeah. And, if this weren't a dream, they would all be the same. Unless these are like different editions of the manual and they're all different.
Well, the Doctor says he doubts that all 4 of them read the entirety of the manual. So in this dream world, they won't have this conception of the manual.
And Shona's like, I haven't read any of it.
Classic Shona.
So yeah, the first words on the pages are all different. And they're like, oh shoot, we're in a dream.
Yeah, the first one is just nonsensical, and the second page they read from, it says, you are dying or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It was like, you're going to die.
4 words,
or something.
so...
Yeah.
And the Doctor's like, see, we're in a dream. Santa busts in, he's like, look, guys, you gotta...
Santa busts in, he's like, are you serious? You just realized that now? Of course it's a dream, guys.
Yeah, I'm freaking Santa Claus. And the Doctor's like, oh my god, I said that already.
I'm on to you, Santa.
Santa has some
your game.
Weird, like, techno babble lines here.
Oh man, we didn't mention the best line of the episode, where it's in Dream Layer 1, I guess, where Danny and Clara are having this heartfelt moment, and then just cuts to like a close-up of the Doctor's face, and he goes, brave.
I think he's trying to tell Clara to be brave and wake up, but the first time I watched this episode, totally didn't recognize that at all. I guess it's just because it's like a fraction of a second.
I think he's saying that they are both brave. I don't know.
You know what? I don't know. But the first time I watched it, completely didn't even notice it because it's like a fraction of a second. If you're not paying attention, you just kind of skip over it and it kind of just sounds like the Doctor says it in the background. But when you actually watch it, it cuts to the Doctor's face. He goes, brave, and then it cuts back to Clara and Danny. And I just,
it's just, how did that make it into the final story,
I mean,
How?
because again, it's one of those things where if you're not like actively paying attention, I think it just kind of like
Yeah.
flies right by your visual cortex.
Your optic nerve. Kind of like how did that close up on those like yellow squares make it into make it into Rocky 4? All
Hey,
Rocky fans will know what I'm talking about.
I think absolutely no one except us knows.
How
That
did
was
that-
the greatest moment in that movie, is when they're
No, it
filming
wasn't.
that
It
outside of the
legitimately
hotel,
wasn't.
and they just zoom into the space between the letters.
How did that pan like across the floor make it into Alien Resurrection? Or no, it was Alien 3.
The same way it does in every movie. Studio interference. Although that zoom in on the yellow squares might have been Sylvester Stallone's creative vision, actually. Anyway, so they all kind of get in a circle, they hold hands, and they wake up, and they're in the base again. They're like, well, we did it, guys. We're alive. See you later.
The doctor's like, how do we know this isn't a dream as well?
Well, he doesn't say that really yet, because he just goes out to the TARDIS and like, well, we can leave now, Clara. And she's like, but what about those people in the infirmary? You know, they're like still dying. And the doctor's like, well, they're beyond hope. And Clara's like, but
We get some ominous
what about the rest of the...
Yeah. We get some ominous dialogue where the doctor realizes what's going on. He's like, the answer was right under our noses the whole time. 4 people running this base, 4 people in the infirmary. Add it all up. We're in another dream.
Well, because he says there's 4 manuals and 4 people running the base and 4 people in the infirmary.
Right.
And he goes inside and he says, what have you guys all not figured out yet? And they're like, what? And he's like, you know what I hate about the obvious is missing it. And he's like, there are 4 manuals. Well, he says, why do you have 4 manuals if there are 8 people crewing this base? He also asked them all to explain how they got there or why they're there, and that's when they all go, it's a long story.
Right.
And then Clara's like, this is kind of weird, Doctor, what's going on? He's like, you want to know what's really wild? Clara, why did we come here? And she's like, oh, it's a long... Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so kind of touching on that like thing in dreams where it's like you don't know how you got to the situation that's portrayed in the dream. And you don't really question it until you wake up. It's like, wait a minute, that was so surreal.
But then the worst part is that like you always forget the dream from the beginning towards the end. At least I do. I tend to forget the beginning before I forget the end. So maybe you just like forgot all of that.
Well, yeah. I read somewhere, I don't know how true it is, that like you forget like 90% of your dreams and you're actually dreaming a lot
like nearly
more.
every night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this weird thing where like you don't experience the dream unless you remember the dream. I don't know. Weird. Memory's weird. The memory cheats. Didn't John Nathan Turner say that when everyone was saying that like the older episodes were better than the episodes he was like producing? He's like, oh, but the memory cheats.
Yeah,
don't think they're so great. They're not as great as you think they were.
But he didn't, like, that's not his phrase. He didn't make that up. That's
well,
like
no,
a saying.
I'm just saying, like, isn't that when he said it?
I think so, yes.
It was also that audio we listened to.
Yeah, the memory cheats. And the podcast, the memory cheats. So this is when things start getting a little complicated because the people are in their own dreams.
There's some elements of the memory cheats in this, actually, now that I think about it. There's some similarities, I mean, I can barely remember the plot of the memory cheats. I barely remember
the memory cheats.
It was that lady using that device on Zoe to try reconstruct her memories because they were trying to figure out where the doctor was, but it was like reconstructing it.
Was that the one in Uzbekistan?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
But it was like Zoe eventually figured out that it like wasn't true because of some obscure detail, and then she wakes up, but she's actually like in another layer of the memory reconstruction. A lot of similarities now that I think about it.
Yeah, there's definitely some similar plot points there. But anyway, the people are in their own dreams. Things start going haywire. Yeah, this is where I like kind of just gave up. I was like, this is a little too complicated. I don't like the episode very much. And
well, the doctor says they're like dream manifestations of themselves there to give themselves a problem to solve. Because he says that all of them might not even be scientists in the real world.
Which turns out they're not. I mean, unless Shona is. We don't get Shona's like, oh no, we do. She works in a video store.
We get this, I thought, also funny line where they go outside and they're like, the doctor's like, quick, in the TARDIS. And Clara's like, the doctor, it's a dream. Like, it's still a dream. And the doctor's like, well, better hope that I imagined it really well then. But then they're surrounded and the doctor's like, imagine someone saving you. You're at the North Pole and it's Christmas. Who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters. So Santa comes flying in on a sleigh to save the day.
And they go flying off. And then everybody starts remembering their real lives.
Right. This is like when you're lucid dreaming or whatever, unless you're very practiced in it, as soon as you realize you're in a dream, you kind of wake up.
Yeah, you just gotta get that practice in.
There's like a weird sensation too. I don't know if you've ever had that sensation where it's like you realize you're in the dream and you can feel yourself waking up.
No.
I don't even know how to, it's not even like a sensation that you feel in real life. It's just like you're waking up.
I've experienced sleep paralysis before, though.
Jesus.
It's something that can occur because of that, where you realize you're in a dream and you start to wake up, and basically your mind wakes up before your body does, so you're just awake and your body can't move.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
It's great. That's also a technique, actually, to lucid dream, is to do that in reverse, where you basically just lie perfectly still for like 20 to 30 minutes until your body falls asleep, but your mind doesn't, and then you let your mind fall asleep.
Yeah. I've just got to say, anecdotally, people say when you're lucid dreaming, you can do whatever you want, but that's not true at all. When I had
practiced enough.
Yeah, probably not. But the one time I had like a pretty detailed lucid dream that I was able to stay in, I was like, sweet, I'm gonna jump through this closed window, and I tried, and I just like slammed right into the window.
You didn't believe hard enough.
It's really disappointing.
You didn't believe.
I know. Yeah, that's totally what it is. But yeah, they all start remembering their real lives.
So they all start disappearing off the sleigh and waking up, and the dream crabs die.
Shona's is like actually kind of sad because like you can tell she has no friends and like has a really crappy life, and she's like, maybe we can all hang out like in real life, and everyone else is like, yeah, I mean, maybe like if we find each other.
The doctor's like, it's doubtful you'll even remember most of this, and definitely won't remember anyone's phone number when you wake up. Sorry, Shona.
Yeah, so Shona wakes up. This isn't in order, but I forget the exact order. Shona wakes up and she...
Well, the...
was Ashley,
Shona's the last one to wake up.
Bellows
wakes up first. We forgot to mention Albert dies. So.
Oh yeah, Albert bites the dust.
But yeah, Bellows is in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And she's a grandma.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, sorry, must have dozed off, and we see the ash of the dream crab on the floor.
Right.
And then we see...
Ashley, I forget.
Yeah, Ashley wakes up, but she's just alone. No, she's just asleep in like a regular apartment. She didn't
really have anything.
And then Shona wakes up and she looks like she's gone through like a breakthrough or something. A break-up, I mean. But also a breakthrough because the last thing, she's got like a Christmas to-do list alone in her like hoarder apartment.
Yeah.
It's like watch movies, call dad, watch more movies, forgive Dave, and she just picks up a pen and checks off forgive Dave.
Another just dumb thing. It's just too, I don't know. There's obviously an entire story, going on in the background here, but like, so what? Who really cares?
I mean, that's the story we would have gotten though if Shona had stuck around, probably.
God. I did like the doctor's like awkward, when they're on when they're on the sled, like Santa, like everyone's getting real huggy with each other, and the doctor's just like, he has this kind of grimace on his face, and he's just like, I don't want to be a part of this.
Santa asks if he wants to take the reins. He's like, you're just a dream construct of my either failing or recovering brain. So sure.
So we get the doctor flying Santa's sleigh through London.
Great. All my childhood wishes come true.
All of Steven Moffat's childhood wishes have come true.
Probably.
I mean, yeah, considering he got to run Doctor Who for longer than anyone else ever has, all of his childhood wishes probably have come true.
Anyway,
how do you feel about Steven Moffat making away or like getting away with it all? It's like a hit and run. I mean, like 20 years from now, we'll look back on the history of Doctor Who, and Steven Moffat will be like a hit and run, honestly.
Yeah, whatever. It's what J&T and Cartmel did. Don't see why we should treat Moffat any different either.
They were a hit and run too.
Cartmel was just like, what if the Doctor was this ancient Gallifreyan myth?
Hell, even
we just all accept that as being okay, but so why should we not accept all the stuff Moffat does, which I think is like less egregious than that?
Yeah, I mean, even Douglas Adams was a hit and run.
Yeah, kind of. Everyone was a hit and run, although really like
the history of Doctor Who is
okay, but she established the show.
So she wasn't a hit and run.
Okay, so you're getting off on a technicality.
But the things they established in like that first season are still here.
So the things that like everybody else established, including
Not
Robert
always.
Holmes with the 13 regeneration
Yeah,
limit.
I wouldn't say Robert Holmes is a hit and run. He was more of a slow drive. I don't know.
The Time War that Russell T established is also stuck around
Yep.
for.
Totally not a hit and run.
I think the history of Doctor Who is fluid and continuous and ever hard to pin down.
Sure.
Anyway, the Doctor wakes up and he's on this volcanic planet, and he's like, "Oh shoot, Clara!" So he,
Is this where Clara threw the keys into the lava?
I don't know. And he materializes in her bedroom, and he's like, "I'm gonna get this dream crab off." And he's like, "Oh hi, how long has it been?" She's like, "It's been 68 years."
It's been 84 years.
The Doctor's like, "Ah, damn." This would have been, I think, like a really heartbreaking, but also poignant write-out for Clara that the Doctor came back too late. Kind of seems like it would have fit more with Amy, the girl who always waited for like 3 weeks for the Doctor to show up. But anyway.
3 weeks to like 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, yeah, but Amy was like consistently waiting for the Doctor to show up, where the Doctor was like never late with Clara,
Right.
except the one time with coffee right at the beginning of the season,
Well, that pretty much outweighs all his faults with Amy.
I guess.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
So the Doctor is like, "Well, I got Christmas hats. Everything's funnier with Christmas hats." And she's like, "You won't even laugh." And he's like, "Try me." They crack open a Christmas cracker, and the Doctor's like, I wish I'd come back earlier. And I assume that's where the episode would have ended originally. But then instead, Santa busts down the door. He's like, "Ho, ho, ho. Oh, yeah."
Oh, God. He is wearing red. Santa just Kool-Aid Man the entire time?
Myth confirmed. But he's like, "Do you really wish that, Doctor? Do you?" And he's like, "What?" And Santa's like, "Wakey, wakey." The Doctor wakes up again on the same volcanic planet, and he's like, "Oh shoot, Clara."
Yeah, this is pretty obvious, that Clara was supposed to go out like this. I don't dislike this, honestly.
I get it. I just, on the other hand, I also don't get why they didn't just like replace the first scene with
Maybe it was
the
too late
second
or
one.
something. I
was
don't know.
gonna say, I don't really get why it was necessary for the Doctor and Clara to wake up again when that second scene is like pretty much can stand without the one where Clara's old, with like just maybe one or two dialogue tweaks, and they could have just replaced it entirely instead of making it feel like this tacked on thing.
Well, maybe it's like this thing of, because before when the people were waking up, it was kind of like a bittersweet thing. So maybe it's like this thing of like, yes, waking up from your dreams can be, good or whatever.
I guess, but then you have to wonder, like, how did... I don't know, I just wonder about the whole mechanics of the Doctor and Clara being, like... Because when they're in the Arctic base, that would mean the Doctor and Clara are, like, 2 dream layers deep, but everybody else is only 1 dream layer deep. Like, how do the dream crabs, like, connect you into different dream layer deepness
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that?
it must be possible for that to happen. I mean, I don't know why I'm like... I don't know why I'm so concerned about this, but it must be possible, like, be in the same dream as, like, someone even when you're, like, yeah, like you said, 2 levels deep and they're only, whatever. Maybe everyone else was in dreams as well. Maybe those scenes that we saw were, like, they're still in dreams. Maybe they are in an Arctic base, and, like, Bella's being in a wheelchair and Shona, like, being...
It's another
It's
dream.
another dream.
I'm gonna doubt that one. I mean, I just question why it had to be such a tacked on thing, because it does feel tacked on. Not,
Well,
not that that's necessarily a bad
when
thing.
you know what was planned to be, I think it does. I don't think like
I mean,
think,
when I watched it the first time, I didn't know, and I just felt like when I watched it, I was like, I'm sure Clara was supposed to leave right there, and they just tacked that scene on, and I didn't know, and I felt like it.
I was sure Clara was supposed to leave last time, and they just tacked the rest of her run on.
They've done that 3 times now, so
Yeah.
good old Moffat. They'll do it at least once more too.
Anyway, the episode kind of ends. They go off to have more adventures. I'm really hoping Series 9 Clara can redeem herself, because Series 7 Clara is my favorite New Who companion. And I really just hope Doctor Who is good. Again.
I think it is. I think we get a lot of great episodes this season. It's basically all 2-parters too, which is great. More content for the same story, so it won't feel rushed. But on the other hand, there's always the
fact the
risk.
season will seem rushed.
Well, I guess, but also I was going to say the risk that
They'll just be drawn out and unenjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that happens, though.
We'll have to see. Anyway, I kind of touched on everything that I wanted to touch on. I don't have any much more to say about this episode other than I'm just going to say it again. I think the dialogue was really clunky and the acting was bad.
I just think that this whole episode was lazy and everyone was just kind of resting on their laurels. I thought Nick Frost did a particularly poor job as Santa, like noticeably bad in my opinion.
Definitely.
Which is weird because I'm pretty sure he's like actually normally a pretty good actor, or at least halfway decent. Maybe it was the dialogue, or maybe he just phoned it in, and we could be both. Could be neither. And I definitely think this is the worst of the Christmas specials, and the worst of Series 8. Don't think it's as bad as you say it is, though.
Well, all right.
Well, anyway, that brings us to a conclusion of Series 8, for sure, for good. And if you'd like to email us, you can reach us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Clara returning to the TARDIS after being written out twice in a row. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Play at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're going to be watching The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch is Familiar. But until then, the end.